5 sexy herbs, sexiest herbs. How are herbs sexy?
Well, how are they not sexy? I mean, come on. Have you looked at some of these juicy things? Have you ever seen a basil? That joint is asking for the bite. It just wants you to nibble on its ear. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. Herbs that are sexy to me are the things that encourage what we would call aphrodisiac response. And when I say aphrodisiac, I mean, what are you thinking, Professor Hunter? What comes to your mind?
Oysters.
Okay.
Chocolate.
Okay.
Kind of dark chocolate.
I'm writing these down. Go ahead.
I hate oysters, so I'll just put that out there. Mango, that's my jam. Mango. I don't know. I guess so. So aphrodisiacs is supposed to, spark your libido.
Yeah. Well,
for men, saltpeter. I don't even know what that is, but I heard saltpeter. That's
saltpeter goes the other way.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the hell.
So here's the thing. In a classification of aphrodisiacs, it is said that it's a food or substance. It could even be a smell. It could be anything that affects us in a way that spurns on, right, our sexual interest. It could be performance enhancing, right, like lasting longer for men or becoming more juicy for women or whatever the case is. It could also do your libido, your interest level or blood flow to those areas, etc. It doesn't mean, oh, well, I don't have a partner, so I don't need to worry about these things. You want all your plumbing in working order all the time. And nature has set it up that way that at every phase of your existence, your health can be governed. I want you to hear what I'm saying. I feel firmly from an indigenous medicine perspective that your health can be governed by your sexual health. I know just stay with me, because when we have our sexual health together, the body is saying, I have enough resources.
Dr. Amin, herb number 1 and why?
Well, I am a super big fan of ginseng in general. One of my first herbal teachers beyond my great-grandmother was a very elderly Chinese man in my neighborhood where I grew up in New York. And he didn't speak that much English. I didn't have that much command of Chinese, which means like almost zero. But we had hand gestures between us, and he must have seen something in me, and he agreed to, answer questions whenever I would go into this herb shop with jars of all kinds of wild stuff in there. And the one thing he emphasized a lot was ginseng. It was pivotal for men. And then there's a women's ginseng. And that's what I want to get into too, is that the women's ginseng is called dong quai, or he would call it tang quai. And so dong quai, DONG, QUAI. You can have lots of different kinds of spellings in English, but that's principally the one people rest on. It's the women's ginseng. So dong quai is awesome. When we talk about aphrodisiac, these sexy herbs, we're talking about making sure that all of those plumbings in our body, all of the juicy spots, everything is working in working order. This is not about having sex per se. It's about making sure that our hormones are balanced, that it comes across in our skin, it comes across in our hair, our nails, our body fat balance, like everything that we need in order to feel great. And when our hormones are off, our sexual hormones, our thyroid then gets thrown off. The other stuff gets thrown. It's a escalating set of interventions that you'll need eventually. Dong quai is one of those cornerstone herbs that I feel like is very, very pivotal for women. Right. So on the male side, we got ginseng. On the women's side, we have what they call the women's ginseng, which is dong quai. Have you had dong quai?
Never. I couldn't spell it. I don't know what it is. Never had it. Would it be in something like a soup? Like what do you put this in?
In your body.
So you take it like a pill? Do you crush it up? Like, what does it even look like?
Okay. So it looks like ginseng. It looks like a big root, kind of like ginger would be, right? And it can be cut down into small pieces. So we use it like in our Yoniverse tea. We use it in the Punani Power Tonic. It's something that has a very earthy ground flavor. So when you talked about decolonizing our tongues, this hits right in there. And if you taste a ginseng, it's that same earthy root flavor, right? So I love dong quai or tongue quai.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. It looks like little fingers, little rooted fingers, little thin little ginger,
That's
like
sexy.
real thin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sexy fingers. Love
Okay,
it.
sexy fingers, hilarious. All right, number 2, ginseng's number 1, and dong quai.
Yes, and these are in no particular order. I just love all these things. I love Shatavari.
Who?
Shatavari. Sounds like a girlfriend down the street.
Girl,
These
Shatavari was over last week, and we were talking about Shatavari.
Shatavari is going to be a beautiful woman who is a beautiful girl from down the street with a nice ponytail, and she knows how to double dutch. That's Shatavari.
Come on,
Shatavari is a really beautiful herb in the asparagus family, believe it or not. And it is super useful. The name Shatavari itself is an ancient Sanskrit word, which means woman with 1,000 husbands or woman with 100 husbands. That's how potent the lady is who takes Shatavari, is she could handle 100 husbands.
What? I'm today years old. It's SHAT. T as in Tom, A, V as in Victor, ARI, for those of you writing this down. Shatavari, come on through. Look at that.
I love Shatavari. Taking it, you see a glow to your skin. You'll find that if you're still at that point in your life where you're cycling, where you have a menstrual cycle every month, like this helps regulate that cycle. So it's more timed. So you're not like, I don't know what's going on, less blood flow, less days in the cycle. I want to see everybody get to that 2 days in and out on a cycle. None of this 5, 6, 7 days. That's not normal. And having you be anemic is definitely going to happen if you're cycling that long or that heavily. So Shatavari lets you keep your resources instead of losing them monthly or in any phase of your life, whether you're in menopause, perimenopause. It brings the beauty, the blush back to your cheeks.
Now, should people be careful because it can remove toxins and minimizes water weight? So those of us who get bloated during that time of the month, this can help with the bloating. I'm reading it also may lower your blood sugar. But if people are taking diuretics,
yeah,
it's
so here's the thing. I love that you said this, and we're always going to use the caveat that we're going to speak to our primary care physician before we start taking things. This is very important. We're always going to say that. You're going to get bored of us saying that, but it's true, especially if you're on other medicines or you're trying out something new. Shatavari has thousands of years of use, but you may have a modern lifestyle in which you need to figure out how to incorporate that in. Shatavari goes all the way back to Kemet, thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt. This is a lean on herb that women, it's a must have.
Shatavari. What if you're beyond, if you're in menopause, if you're beyond your childbearing years, what does Shatavari, can that help with something?
Yeah, of course. That blush, that glow, the helping to balance hormones, the swollen feet, swollen ankles, anything that any of us is experiencing. This is a very helpful herb. You just stay looking sexy, baby. That's how we do. Woman with 100 husbands.
She keeps saying that. Who wants 100 husbands? That's like, Jesus,
that's a lot of
work. It's a lot of work. Okay. Number 3.
Ashwagandha.
Yes.
Yes. Have you had ashwagandha?
Of course. Yes, I have had ashwagandha. Yes. And I can even spell it.
Go.
Oh, I'm looking at it. So ASH, ash, WAG, you wag, and AND, ha, HA, ha ha. There you go.
I like it. You did it like hip hop. You put the N, ha 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 ha, on the end.
Ha 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 ha. It's like a jungle sometimes with ashwagandha. And anyway, tell us what it does.
No, you almost got it. It almost happened. I love ashwagandha. It's one of my favorite, both male and female folks. It's an enriching herb. It's adaptogen. Adaptogens are going to be herbs that help us manage stress. Not that any of us have stress in our lives, but it helps to manage stress. And anytime you're managing stress, what our ancestors found out was that our sexual function goes up. Now, have you ever been under stress and your libido or function or performance or any of it went down? Then the opposite is also true.
I thought sex was for the stress relief.
Oh, word. Well, not if you can't get there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Not if you can't get there. And what I really love, just like we talked about Shatavari with being the woman with 100 husbands, ashwagandha means smells like a horse.
What? So I had some this morning because it's in your Sunyatta superfood blend. Yeah. So I had my little matcha, but I had that. I had the superfood blend today with some oat milk. That was what I had. So it's in that.
I absolutely love ashwagandha. It is the kind of thing that helps to balance the hormones, but also it quiets the nervous system. And I know it's counterintuitive, like what you just said, with regard to like, isn't the stress relief on the other end? But anytime our nervous systems are more calm or more placid, our performance, whether we're being intimate with somebody else or ourselves, or just our libido is going to be on fire.
Now, why does it smell like a horse? And why do we want that to smell like a horse?
Horses get a bad name. So of course, when you put a horse in a barn or paddock, or that sort of area, it's not the horse that smells bad. It's that the horse is not running around the field. And so it's kind of like all the waste product is there, right? But if you were to smell a horse when it was outside and it's just running around doing its thing, it actually is a really beautiful smell, like the coat of the horse when you're brushing it, right? So this just means it has like a earthy kind of tiny little musky smell that is actually very sexy, not, it smells like poops, right? So it smells like a horse, meaning it smells virile too. It smells like it's powerful. And isn't that the way we want to feel in our everyday lives? We want to feel like we have some energy.
Okay. All right. Number 4.
Cardamom.
I love cardamom. You have that in there's some cardamom in Activia, yes. Activia, yes.
It's in all of our chais. Cardamom is pivotal. And when I was growing up, my great grandmother would open the cardamom, like give you one to eat like a sunflower seed, and you just pull out the little black seeds and chew on them. And it freshens the breath, and it also balances hormones. Cardamom is known as the queen of spices. And so as we have cardamom, especially for women, but it also is good for men too, right? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And what happens is it helps to balance the hormones out. And that's what has us feeling sexy. When our hormones are off, we're growing hair in weird places. We're feeling out of sorts. We feel lumpy, bumpy in the body, there's swelling, etc. So we want to be swollen in the right places, not the wrong places. That's a sexy place.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. All right. So ginseng, shatavari, ashwagandha, cardamom.
Yes.
And what's the 5th sexiest spice? Herbs and spices.
Maca.
Maca.
Yes.
Which is also in your superfood blend.
I love maca. It's a root and grows underground. So again, we're talking about decolonizing our tongues. This is something that has an earthy flavor to it.
Very earthy.
Yes, I absolutely love it. Maybe because I'm a Taurus, I love earthy flavors. You can't get me. I just love it. Green and earthy flavors are fantastic. What I love about maca is its hormone balancing ability, but also the ability to help bring more oxygen to large muscle tissues in the body. And that is about performance, baby. Don't I want to hear about no leg cramps. I don't want to hear about, oh no, my hamstring. You better get it together. And so maca is the one, right? If you want to perform like a stallion and you got to bring your A game, and Maca is beautiful in that capacity. Look, the runners in Peru, these men who run across the mountains in these high altitudes, 20 miles at a time at a clip, drink maca. It's part of their everyday thing. And they can run at these altitudes and not get cramps and not feel any kind of way. And that's what we have to do, is look at these high performing people all over the world and say, well, what indigenous food are they indulging in that allows this to happen? I love maca.
Do you suggest, because I know you blended with a lot of things, like in your superfood blend. Before you had that, I was doing the matcha with the maca and balancing that out, a little nutmeg, ashwagandha. I was doing my own mix, so I don't have to do that. Thank you for taking the work out of this and the guesswork. But if people just want the maca, do they make that and put it in a smoothie the way they would have, like a powder thing, or do you suggest they make it a latte?
That. I love that question. And I find that typically people take too much of a thing. It's like, oh, if this is good, then this is really going to bring it on, especially if we say it's sexy, right? It's going to help your sexual function and your libido and your hormones. Then we just take too much. That's why I like to mix it, because if you're using a teaspoon of this or half a teaspoon, it is already titrated for what you need. And so I love it that way. I hear people putting 2, 3, 4 teaspoons of stuff. I'm like, that's just too much.
866-801-8255. And I appreciate you for dosing properly, because I'm guilty of being a person that if it's a little, then I'm going to do more. I can't even help it.